the anime that did everything wrong. Excuse me, from the homie D. That boy a freak. What is going on right here? This sounds crazy. This video is age restricted. What? I'm an adult.
Look, shonen anime sucks at romance, but Nanatsu no Taizai deserves an award for making every ship a train wreck. Because why not? Have a main character who molests the girl he's known since she was born. Or have a grown man bang a girl that looks like she's 12. Every major relationship in this show is a different kind of fucked up that is desperately trying to explain why knowing your future wife when she's a toddler is kosher and not grooming. Like, one of these ships would have been bad, but because anime, the fandom will just choose to ignore it. But when every main character is doing it, I think that's a sign to step back. Ignore the fights that are awesome.
I think maybe we should step back and talk about the people who are watching this and enjoying it, which is a reason why they continue to make it. Because obviously there was an audience for it, which means there's a lot of freaky, nasty individuals that are on this earth. Like my boy D who requested this video. This is crazy. What is happening right now? Because now, too, I'm worried about this guy because how did he research this? Did he have to watch it? I'm scared. Okay, well. Now we're going to be included because now we have to watch it.
And figure out what's going on here. Is it really as bad as it looks? The answer is yes. Nanatsu no Taizai, or the 7 Deadly Sins in English, is a story about a bunch of knights who are framed for murder and have to get the band back together to save the kingdom. Taking place in fantasy England, this medieval times ripoff is centered around the misadventures of the Sins as they have epic fights, train, and grope their employees. This whole anime, to its credit, knows how to deliver hype moments. I'm not going to pretend this show doesn't have any merits. Honestly, if you strip out all the problematic stuff, some of these ships would actually be pretty decent with one great one. Unfortunately, you can't ignore this, so let's just talk about the 7 elephants in the room. First ship, Meliodas and Elizabeth. Meliodas is a 3,000-year-old demon who looks like a jack toddler. Elizabeth is the 16-year-old adopted daughter of the king, and the one who kicks off the plot by trying to reunite the Sins.
So she's 16 and he's 5,000?
Their relationship is complicated with a lot of backstory, but you need none of it to understand that this is wrong. Yeah, just getting this out of the way. Meliodas pretends to be an idiot when he's actually a badass. So the show decided that he needed a thing to be funny, to have a quirk. And that quirk is him sexually harassing Elizabeth. Constantly. Meliodas is doing this from jump. She collapses at his door and the first thing he does is grope her chest. Because that's supposed to be funny. Now, this is a very common thing in Japan. Different cultures, different standards, massive real-world problem in the country. And Meliodas is doing it constantly, with Elizabeth never enjoying it, never consenting to it, and her falling in love with him later doesn't make it better. There is no real explanation for why Meliodas is doing this. At least when most other ecchi sex comedies do this shit, it's framed as an accident. Slipping on banana peels, landing in cleavage, real lowbrow shtick. It's not great, but at the very least, they pretend to give it an excuse, to give the main character an out. Here though, it's just Meliodas molesting his employee. It's intentional, he doesn't do this to anyone else, not to his female teammates Merlin or Diane,
but they're not
to
dating
any of the other women they meet along the way. All this is saved exclusively for her. The sheltered princess who doesn't even realize when he's taking advantage of her. And this happens to Elizabeth because she's his secret soulmate, and that just makes him entitled to her. Yeah, let's talk about that backstory now. See, Elizabeth isn't just a princess. She's actually the reincarnation of Meliodas' true love, Elizabeth. Very convenient. Thousands of years ago, there was a great war between the demons.
Oh, so he just fucking his old bitch. Why didn't he just lead with that? What? Wait a second. Now I'm even more confused. So this is his old girlfriend? But now she's reincarnated into an underage child? Okay, that's a little fucked up. I see God was playing no games with them niggas. That's crazy. Okay. Does he have a pussy? Where's his meat? Is this a man? I'm confused.
Demons and the goddesses, which is just a pretentious way of saying angels. Elizabeth was the daughter of the angels' leader. Meliodas was the son of the demon lord. They fell in love and would try to stop the conflict. And it worked. Just long enough for the parents to agree to stop trying to kill each other so that they can punish their children. Elizabeth was cursed with reincarnation to forever be reborn a new person with no memory of their previous lives, while Meliodas was cursed with eternal life, doomed to spend eternity watching Elizabeth die, as when they meet, Elizabeth's memories eventually return. But
that's crazy. Nah, that's crazy. So technically, he's the only one suffering. She ain't really suffering for real. She keeps getting to grow up in a new life. Well, I guess she's suffering because every time she gets reborn and tries to live her life, this random kitty looking nigga comes over and tries to take over her cheeks. That's kind of crazy. Okay. A little weird. I be trying to get into anime, but there's way too many scenes that I'm like, if somebody walks in here, this is gonna get so awkward so fast. But there are some decent ones.
For 3 days, and in that brief window, they can finally be reunited before being ripped apart again. As after the time limit, Elizabeth would always die a horrific death in front of her lover. This is why Meliodas is solely interested in her, despite the fact that when she's reincarnated, she's often a different person with a slightly different personality. But like everything in this show, it has to be tinged with a pointless
creep factor. So she just keeps dying the whole time?
Meliodas met this version of Elizabeth as a baby, seconds after losing his previous version. She was killed by a demon, and Meliodas leveled a city over it. So he's a little bit raw from the whole experience, refusing to let anyone touch his baby wife, referring to her as his woman.
What? Oh, nah. This is crazy.
Thankfully, though, for my sanity, he gives Liz over to the king, who raises Elizabeth as his own daughter, which is a way better workaround than having Meliodas raise his future baby mama. But, and here's the weird part that could have easily been cut.
This is Meliodas the weird part?
Is still around. Like, a lot. He didn't hand her over and dip for 16 years. Meliodas formed the 7 deadly sins, and they were based out of the capital, with him spending his downtime acting as her bodyguard. Elizabeth grows to be incredibly attached to Meliodas.
That's kind of crazy.
Being distraught whenever he left for a mission. Some definite Twilight vibes going on around here. The only reason he dips out on her is because he got framed for the only murder he did.
I still can't believe they put out that movie. When I was watching it, I did not understand it. When I was like, I wasn't even a kid then. I think I was a teenager. And I still didn't understand or think how weird it was that this old ass wolf nigga was imprinting on a child. That shit's like, to this day, when somebody explained that to me, I was like, that's what was going on in Twilight? This is some freaky shit.
Didn't commit. Then, when they meet again 10 years later, when Elizabeth is finally 16, the first thing he does is grope her chest. And he didn't know she had convenient amnesia. So as far as he was concerned, she was gonna wake up to a family friend assaulting her, and he was just cool with that. There is a decent relationship buried underneath all of this bullshit. But altogether, you can't ignore it, and it was a choice to add in all of this. Him knowing her as a child adds nothing. There's a small amount of intrigue in like, who is this baby, when we get flashbacks of this initially, but remove that, nothing. This comedy isn't funny, and it doesn't add to either of their characters. Elizabeth's concerns in telling Meliodas to stop touching her is never treated seriously, nor does it ever lead to character growth for either of them. I like Elizabeth in both her unaware state and when she remembers her past. As in the first, she's learning to trust her friends and to believe in them, on top of angsting over the fact that she might be Meliodas' replacement for Liz, but still carrying on anyway. But in spite of all of the potential positives, what we're left with is an unnecessary, very convoluted situation, trying to explain why Meliodas banged this child that he helped raise, and why that is totally okay. And you know what? I think this show could maybe have gotten away with this. Japan is Japan. Weebs will give anything a pass and call it art. However, Meliodas is banging someone he met when they were a child, and it isn't an anomaly. it's the norm.
I'm so happy to see you again.
This is King and Diane.
What?
King is the fairy king who pretends to look like an ugly bastard. Diane is a giantess who was simping for Meliodas, which blinded her to kings. Now these two are a decent couple, with again, unnecessary creepy vibes, as King essentially raised Diane and then fell in love with her when she was a toddler.
Okay,
Just
dude.
because.
Okay,
Backstory.
dude.
So, King, aka Harlequin, is the fairy
dude.
king, protector of the forest and his people, till one day, after failing to stop his friends from being mutilated, he got hit in the head, dumped in a river, and developed a case of convenient amnesia, this show's favorite plot device. A very young Diane picked his about-to-be corpse out of the stream, nursing him back to health. But thanks to the plot-selected amnesia, he didn't realize he had to go stop his friends or return to the forest. So instead, he decided to spend the next 500 years hanging out with a child that would become his bride, playing games with her, cooking their meals, helping her when she was sick, even making her new clothes when her old ones came off. And if you're wondering, yes, naked children are very common in the story. It's a choice. Just like it's a choice to make King functionally an adult/teen while falling in love with Diane. He's got those Peter Pan genes. However, King doesn't change emotionally or maturity-wise. Normally, he is one of the
Peter
more
Pan
mature
was just taking
members
the
of the
kids to
7
have
deadly
fun.
sins, and he is at that same level here. This show had an out to make this a childhood romance, to make King a child mentally so that he is on the same level as Diane. That way, when they meet again, Diane isn't the only one who's radically changed, and King is just obsessed with his childhood crush instead of crushing on the fucking child that he spent 500 years playing house with, who, when told by Diane that she loves him,
You're still
and asks if he
500
loves
years
her too,
and
is
considered a
beat
child?
red, sweating bullets, and waiting for Chris Hansen to walk in, because he knows the significance of telling someone you love them. He knows the romantic implications of what he's promising when he says he'll always be by her side. King knows what he's saying, while Diane is the widow girl he has to love and protect till she's legal. The only reason that King ever leaves her is because he has to go kill his mass-murdering best friend without even trying to talk it over. King has the emotional maturity to kill his friend and then surrender to the authorities to be punished for negligence, but not before going back to erase Diane's memories of his existence, because she's just a child, and he's grown up enough to make the choice for her. People can debate the physical versus emotional maturity thing, but it's all very much a moot point. Diane has a trajectory of not growing for 500 years, then having a random growth spurt as soon as he's gone. As this art style has no teen body type, you are literally a chibi toddler or you're an adult. There is no in between. King is the closest we get. King gets a power up later down the road where he becomes Elvis, but nothing about King ever changes internally. He is not some ethereal, ageless being. He knows everything that he's saying, and the story could have made any other decision with him. It's not grooming, but the show, in both instances here, really loves playing chicken with the idea that it is. King's feelings for Diane were romantic and started here. Diane's feelings, we will later find out, also started here when she was a little girl, and due to the memory loss, she projected those feelings onto Meliodas. They could have just made this a childhood romance had King act a little younger, but no. But at the very least,
so King was like a super
look
pedo.
like children anymore, which is more than I can say for Elaine.
What's up, little girl? Are you lost or something?
So this is.
So he
this
calls
is
her
the
a
best
little
love
girl?
story in 7 Deadly Sins.
The best?
No contest. Bon is best boy. Elaine is a fucking child, though. A few decades before the story started, a 20-ish Bon tried to steal the Fountain of Youth. His life sucked, lots of dead family, and he hoped immortality would give him enough time to have something positive happen. Unfortunate for him, the fountain had a guardian, King's sister Elaine. Now yes, Elaine is a fairy and over 1,000 years old, but she also canonically has the body of an 11-year-old. This is not stylization.
So it's like adult niggas who be dating midgets and stuff like that, huh?
She looks like a child in story, and they bang. The coolest character in the show, and they made him a pedophile with extra steps.
What?
I hate this. I hate that Bon and Elaine have easily the best love story here, yet we have to constantly ignore the tiny elephant in the room. Bon's entire character motivation was to find a way to bring back the love of his life, as after the two fell in love, she died, sacrificing herself to save him, setting him on a quest to find a way to bring her back from the dead. This man literally strolled into the afterlife just to tell his girl he's gonna steal her back. Everything Bond does is gold, but we have to pretend that she doesn't look like his daughter sitting in his lap. Like, the copium is unbelievable. People are arguing that it isn't that bad, that Bond is just 6'11" and she's short. When first off, all those listed heights are bullshit. Always have and always will. Those info books are lying when they say that Goku is the same height and weight as Bruce Lee. Just like it's lying when they say Elaine is 4'11", when she barely comes up to Bond's pants. Bond would have to be 9 or 10 feet tall for this math to work out. So that listed 4'11" height is just a lie to make this sound better on paper, when anyone with eyes can tell that this doesn't look right. Elaine isn't petite, she's not the average height for women in Japan, she just looks 11, if not younger. When Bond first meets her, he mistakes her for a child, and she didn't have to be drawn this way. She could have been drawn to look closer to a teen like King, or just have been an adult. But no. We really gotta make this look as accurate as possible to a grown man dating a child, because that's just this show's kink. Meliodas isn't a manlet, he's child-sized.
So like maybe,
and everything about Bond's appearance only makes this.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, right? Maybe this helps niggas stop being pedophiles in Japan because they have something to watch and entertain themselves without going out and touching kids. Is that a thing? Or niggas just weird? I think niggas is just weird. I don't know. This is kind of crazy.
And they, oh my god, they had an out here. Because guess what? Fairies are shapeshifters. They can make themselves look older. King did it all the time and didn't even let his friends know his real appearance for years. Elaine has all the same powers, but never uses them.
Okay. So she likes looking 9 years old. That's what we're getting at here. Okay, yeah, so it's just weird. Yeah. Or maybe they're helping somebody out there. Jesus Christ.
Was a literal get out of jail free card. Just sitting there, and they just decided, nah, they want Elaine to stay a grade schooler. Then it happens again, when she gets wings, which in fairy terms means that they're aging up. When King got his, he went from Peter Pan to Peter Man. Yet when Elaine got him, barely a difference. She's still tiny, still childlike, and anyone who calls this a major change needs to get their eyes checked. And in
so
no
she
world
literally,
she's 1,000 years
my God,
old,
she
but
just
looks
got
11
pregnant?
hold up. Maybe because outside of the fact that this is fiction, it is a creative choice to make Elaine look as young as she is, just like everything in the story.
Why is he having to block out her? What the fuck is in these books? Oh no.
If they want to make fairies look just eternally youthful, they could have done that. If they want to make elves just have this ethereal beauty, they could have done that. If they want fairies to look alien, they could have done that. But instead, the design that they went with was to make all the regular fairies chibi sprites, except for the main ones who just have to look like children, who all start dating other ageless beings, but those beings get to look like adults, but Elaine doesn't. And we're just gonna ignore the whole legal looking option with Jericho, but no, we have to pick the one that needs an asterisk next to it. It's at cool, all bro. Times.
She's 1300.
As far as couples go, this isn't even rock bottom. This is Gowther. He's an androgynous living doll with the power to manipulate people's memories. He's also a bit of a psychopath,
Wait, that's
interacting
a guy?
with the world the same way a machine would. This Tin Man is obsessed with gaining a heart and understanding human emotions. He wasn't always like this though. Around 45 years before the story starts,
that's a dude?
Gowther, lost in the catacombs beneath the castle, was discovered by Elizabeth's dad when he was a kid. Back then, Gowther actually had emotions and grew close to the king's sister who was dying of a heart defect. They banged. She died in her sleep. And Gowther, not realizing his heart was symbolic, ripped open her chest trying to put his own into hers. Didn't work, and then the guards walked in. The man was caught naked, standing over the princess's bloody corpse. They had more than enough evidence to charge him with what he allegedly did, branding him the sin of lust, While Gowther was so distraught after losing his love, he erased his own mind to escape the pain, leaving him the emotions-obsessed robot that he is at the start. And then Gowther commits the crime he was falsely accused of. Now, Gowther's power is that he can manipulate and alter people's memories. He can erase and create new ones. He can do just about anything to fuck with people's heads. Sometimes he uses this power for the greater good, manipulates enemies so that they don't have to physically hurt them, with the effect only being temporary. Other times, he abuses his power, like what he did to Gila. Introduced as an antagonist, a member of the new generation of Holy Knights who had their powers augmented by consuming demon blood, she on multiple occasions tried to kill the Sins, believing them to be evil and her own side righteous, as she would do anything to protect her little brother Zeal, who was her only remaining family member. This demon power would be abused by her boss Hendrickson, who triggered the blood to go out of control, turning all of his subordinates into demonic flesh monstrosities, requiring Bond to rip the demon hearts out of their bodies, stripping them of their magic power in the process. Except for Gila, as she was saved instead by Gowther using his powers. Then to everyone's shock, Gowther and Gila started dating when the dust settled. The thing is though, this wasn't a "you saved my life" romance. This was Gowther using his powers to force her to love him, as when he initially used his powers on her, he erased most of her traumatic memories related to her father, as that trauma was the source of her emotional instability that the demonic powers would use to drive her crazy. However, on top of erasing those memories, he inserted new ones as well, making her believe that Gowther was her childhood friend and fiancé. Then just to completely isolate her so that she could only rely on him, Gowther removed her memories of her brother, who was her whole world at this point. Gowther did all this so that he could use her as a test subject to study love and its effects on people. He desperately wanted to understand human emotions, so he stripped Gila of her autonomy, forced her to date him, with the show all but confirming that the two had sex. This is implied by a panel in the manga where, while Gowther has his shirt on at least, they're in bed with the curtains closed and seem to be in the process of making out. This was removed from the anime, but they didn't remove all references to this happening. After Gowther has been defeated and forced to give Gila back her memories and apologize, he specifically apologizes for, and the translation does differ. Some groups say he apologized for staining her, defiling her is used in another, with the official books going for the slightly less obvious disgracing her, with the actual scene itself implying that he isn't referring to disgracing her free will, as we have panels of Elizabeth and Diane blushing at the implication of said phrasing, with Gila also heavily blushing at the memory, which leans into the fact that Gowther did something that was sexual in nature, and in a very telling move, much like Elaine's corpse just being naked, the anime omits and censors some of this. The show cuts the implied sex scene, it cuts all the blushing, as if realizing that all of this already looks bad, and having them blush would only draw extra attention to the fact that Gowther is a fucking rapist. This is not confirmed. But Gowther forced Gila to become his girlfriend and to try and experience love, to learn more about it. So it is not beyond the realm of reason that the physical part of dating would also be explored.
It's just science.
For science. And Gila thanks him for it.
What?
Oh yeah, she thanked Gowther for manipulating her memories, for assaulting her, saying he saved her, blaming herself for being too weak to resist the demon's blood, because her boss manipulating her into drinking it, preying on her desperate need for power to protect her brother, all of that just her fault. That after the bad things she did when she was a villain, and how despite all of that Gowther still saved her anyway, so she thanks him for it, thanks him for screwing with her head, as that unearthed memories of her father. Now she can remember his face more clearly, so at the end of the day, he just did her a solid.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
This is canon. Gowther abused his powers, forced Gila to date him, erased her memories of her brother, erased her brother's memories, leaving him homeless, most likely
they left the little nigga homeless,
sexually assaulted her, and the story has her thank him for it.
And so all of his friends, they just know that he's out here doing this to people?
Everyone in the show agrees is wrong. The story still feels the need to semi-absolve Gowther of guilt, to put a nice little bow on Gila's character before writing her out of the story. so it glosses over what Gowther might have did to go back to making him a sad whoopee later. The show could have kept the same situation without the implied assault, and it still would have been just as screwed up and gone across the point that Gowther is unstable. It would have been that simple. And I just want to say that the idea that the show is so blasé in the aftermath is a sign that nothing happened means nothing to me, as this is the same show that treats Elizabeth getting molested as a gag, so I don't have any confidence in it, especially when it can just sweep the whole incident under the rug and not talk about it, as dwelling on what Gowther did would turn the audience against him when he is supposed to be one of the good guys. So Gowther got a pass. Okay, enough about the goat's sin of lust. Let's talk about the real goat. Escanor and Merlin are fine. They don't actually get together, but this dude practically carries the show after season 1, so I owe him for that.
They made Merlin
Escanor is a human with sun-based powers, growing more powerful the closer it is to noon. Merlin is a sorceress, beautiful but sketchy. Escanor is head over heels in love with Merlin, as she was the first person he met that didn't treat him like a monster. Escanor was utterly devoted to her, even though he realized that she wouldn't love him back. At least, not in the way he wanted to be loved. She's also too busy grooming a 16-year-old to rule. But when he saved everyone, in his final moments, Merlin gave him a kiss goodbye, letting his fire burn and scar her. A permanent reminder of kissing the sun and the proud man who wielded it. And finally, do we have a ship that isn't problematic?
So that's your true form, I take it?
Oh, god damn it. So Merlin is a child. She's 3,000 years old and stopped aging when she was 12. She tricked God and the devil into giving her immortality, amongst other blessings.
Yes, successful. This is why we're still here in August.
We knew she was way older than she looked. Her being 3,000 years old was not a problem, since her and Escanor both met when they were adults. But Merlin is physically a child. She makes herself look like an adult with magic, meaning that this show has another immortal child, which I get it. The series has made the 7 deadly sins not looking like their wanted posters a running gag, but this brings home how outside of Gowther, every member of the 7 deadly sins is either dating a child, fell in love with a child, or looks like one. That's it. That's the theme. There is so much pedo bait in this show that they might as well change the name. It makes up every excuse that it can for why none of this is bad. But every decision here is a choice by the creator. If he wanted, he could have written all of this out. All the young ages, all the young appearances, all the naked children. He could have wrote situations that didn't involve a man molesting a girl he's known since she was born. He could have done anything with this series. But the choice he always came back to was adults falling in love with children. As you can make excuses for characters in a certain situation like King and Diane, but you also have to question why the author wrote this situation like that in the first place.
Like, why did he want kids to be naked?
Could have ended 8 chapters earlier, but it is over. Happy endings all around. Everyone's got kids, and thankfully no one is trying to diddle them.
No. Wait.
Oh, kill me. So 7 Deadly Sins got a sequel, 4 Nights of the Apocalypse. It's about the next generation of heroes despite all the originals being immortal and still in their prime, with all the new characters being immediately on par with their parents, as the anime escalation problem drove the stakes of the series way too high to scale back now. Honestly though, this show getting a Boruto-style sequel is kinda perfect, as the show has only 8 faces for main characters, so it's truly anyone's guess who is related to who. With one of the new main characters being Bond and Elaine's son, Lancelot.
Like Goku.
This kid has a pretty interesting backstory. He's the first half-fairy ever born, was raised in the fairy forest with his family, was trained in part by Jericho, who went from trying to date Bond to a close family friend and Lancelot's mentor. But the two of them disappeared one day through an invisible door. Lance would return 3 years later, but what happened to Jericho remained a mystery. And after we found out, I think she should have stayed gone, as the villain turned hero came back as a villain. Her crime? Trying to rob the cradle. Yes,
wait, what?
Jericho is in love with Lancelot. She couldn't get the father, so now she wants the son. With her motivation for siding with the antagonist being that he'll grant her a perfect world where they're the same age and he's down to fuck her. Because Jericho knows Lancelot only sees her as a mentor and a big sister.
How does that work?
She wants more. This is character assassination, and I pray it's revealed that she is brainwashed. As Jericho is easily the best female character that isn't a member of the Sins. She has a massive amount of character growth, from hiding her gender out of fear of being seen as weak, to embracing it when she gets power through the demon blood, only to lose that power and her place in the world, and falling for Bond, becoming his wingwoman, as she is the one who forces Elaine to come back to her senses when she is brainwashed. She ends up losing her brother but inheriting his heist powers, and from then on strove to become the best that she could to be worthy of his legacy and to save the world. Jericho is great.
So we're getting
So for her to pop
here.
back into the sequel, announce that she's in love with Lancelot, that she fell in love with him when he was 10, that the reason she left him was because she couldn't hide her feelings from a mind reader. I hate it. But it just falls back into the same pattern as the rest of the series. It does make me laugh though, just the hypothetical scenario that Lancelot runs to his dad and tells him an adult is hitting on me, and expect to have Bond to have any other reaction than cool. Bond can't say shit, his uncle can't say shit, and his godfather invented the waiting game. But suddenly, now because a villain is doing it, we're supposed to be disturbed. Alright, quick editor note. I just remembered this whole other villain that was obsessed with getting her own 11-year-old. Vivian was trying to date Gil Thunder, holding his real love hostage. Doesn't get it in, of course. It's kind of weird how we have two women preying on younger men and it's immediately treated as villainous. But when it's with little girls, we're just gonna roll with it. Seriously, what the fuck is this creator on? Why does this have to be a recurring thing?
So he's obviously, the creator's obviously an older guy that likes
so
little
many
children.
anime that sexualizes teenagers, but this is the only one where adults are falling in love with teenagers and dating them across the board. And Lancelot isn't even winning in his actual love life, as a 12-year-old that looks like she's a toddler waltzes up to him and kisses him on the lips and announcing that she's seen the future and they're destined to become lovers. Say hello to Guinevere, everyone. A dream come true for pedophiles everywhere, as she's a child who tells our character insert that it's his destiny to bang her and is trying to be flirty despite being 12 years old, announcing that when he's 20, she'll be 16 and it will totally be legal. Also, she was drawn in the nude in a cover page with two other legal minors. You can only see her head and shoulders. That distinction is going to be lost by the FBI. Nanatsu no Taizai has a ton of great moments, but it dabbles way too much in borderline pedo crap for me to recommend. Its blasé approach to what Meliodas does rubs me the wrong way. King and Diane could have been fine, but King is basically an adult who fell in love with a child. Elaine's design speaks for itself.
Yeah, nah.
Gowther did what he did,
she
and I'm
is
just so
of age,
done
but it's
with
still
all of it.
crazy.
Shonen anime is historically terrible at romance. So the fact that the one that dabbles so heavily in it turned out to be this makes me think they might as well not bother. Okay, subscribe to my channel for shipping and rand videos. Share this one to bring an even bigger shit show to my comments. Follow and yell at me on Twitter.
I can only imagine what.
Thank you. Goodbye. I need a nap.
A nap and maybe some holy water, because that's what I
love
need.
Anime, but most anime isn't worth
shut
watching.
your mouth right now. Shut your mouth right now. Okay, we are done with that. That is, oh my god. I was about to put nut on there, but that's even crazier. Jesus.